Hi everyone, we're going to begin with Pirkei Avot, and it's a wonderful mishna, a really wonderful mishna. It's Mishna Tesvav, the 15th mishna of the first Perek of Pirkei Avot, and we heard everything that we heard from Hillel, and now we're going to talk a little bit about Shammai. Shammai, who was the partner for many years of Hillel, and together they created a foundation for Jewish ethics and for Jewish law at the beginning of the Talmudic period. They were incredible people. Both of them were incredible people. We're now going to hear three different things from Hillel, and I'm going to learn it with you from my Mishnah here. Shammai Omer, Asei Toiroscha Keva. Does anyone know what the word keva means? Keva? Keva means permanent. What does it mean to have a permanent nature to something that you're doing? It's something that you do on a regular basis. So you can be, for example, you can be, I for example, permanently live in Los Angeles. It doesn't mean that I'm here all the time. Occasionally I'm in New York. Last week I was in Israel. But what it means is that my makom kavua, my permanent location, is Los Angeles. What should be your permanent location, your makom kavua as a Jew? The Torah. That's what Shammai is saying. If you want to be a good Jew, your permanent location should always be the Torah. Asei Toiroscha Kavar. I'll read the Perish Sheyeh Limutcha Kavua Etzlecha. Your study of Torah should be something that is permanent. V'huyeh Ikar Asakcha. It should be the thing that with which you are involved with on a regular, permanent basis. V'rak kashetiyeh yiga mahalimud tasok ma'at b'melacha lefarnasatecha. And only when you need to, you do the work that you have to do in order to sustain yourself and in order to maintain yourself and keep yourself going. But ultimately you should always go back to that which is the center and the central theme and the central motif of your life, and that is Torah. So who are you as a person? What are you as a person? So I'll give you an example. There are people who study Torah because it's cute and it's a hobby and it's something that they do and it's wonderful and they enjoy it when they do it. But the actual aspects of their life that they take most seriously are not the Torah. They have other hobbies, they have other aspects of their life with which they are much more engaged intellectually and in terms of the time that they devote to them. But actually, what Shammai is telling you is that ultimately you must always make sure that you as a Jew are going to treat the Torah as the central theme of your life. You know that when Yonah, I know we're coming up, I can't believe it, how quickly the time passes, and particularly this year, we're almost at Yom Kippur. We're only 8 weeks away from Yom Kippur. And on Yom Kippur we read Mafti Jonah. He was asked, who are you? He said, Ivri Anoichi, I am a Jew. That is the core of my identity. That's who I am. It could be that I'm here, I'm on my way to Tarshish, I'm doing something else. But ultimately, the central motif, the identification of me as a person is that Ivri Anoichi, I am a Jew. Asei Toiroscha Kava. Make sure that the Torah is the most permanent aspect of your life. Actually, you know that you see with people for whom Torah is very important, even when they're not engaged in Torah study, you discover that Torah still plays a central role in everything that they do. I'll give you an example. I had a teacher, somebody whom I revered in London. He's still very active. His name is Dayan Chanoch Ehrentreu. He was the head of the London Beth Din. He's retired. He's now the head of the European Beth Din. He's in his late 80s. And I used to spend a lot of time with him. There was a time when and my father was very sick and he was staying with me, and I invited Diane Ehrentreu and his wife to join us for Friday night dinner. And I said to Diane Ehrentreu, would you come? And of course he agreed, and it was just him and his wife and my father and Sabine and our children, little children at that time. And one of the little children was complaining after Kiddush because he wanted wine already, but we hadn't made Kiddush yet. And Diane Ehrentreu took the wine and he poured a little bit of the wine in a cup and he gave it to the child. And I realized it's something that it says it's something that's in the Shulchan Aruch. Why? Because the Shulchan Aruch says if a child is complaining that they want to have something to drink and it's before Kiddush, don't wait till after Kiddush. Don't make them suffer to wait until after Kiddush in order to provide them with the wine that they want for Kiddush. They're already excited for Kiddush. Give it to them before Kiddush while everybody else is coming to the table. And that was something that is in the Shulchan Aruch. And Diane Ehrentreu didn't make a big fuss about it. He just gave my son, with little boy who was maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years old, however old he was, he just gave him the wine. And that because it was so natural to him. His Torah was kavua. The Torah is part of him. He doesn't need to go and run to the Mishnah Berurah and check, what should I do if my child is crying before Kiddush? Should I or should I not give him wine? The Torah was kavua. It was part and parcel of who he was, and he knew immediately what the right thing was that he had to do, and he just did it. No questions asked, no consultation necessary. Here is what we need to do. And that is what Shammai means. Make sure that in your life, that the Torah is kavua, that the Torah is permanent, that every aspect of your life somehow finds its way, even if it's circuitous, it finds its way back to what the Torah teaches you to do and how you're meant to lead your life. That is who you are as a Jew. If you want to be a good Jew, don't let the Torah be something that's external, an add-on. That's a hobby. It's something I do when I've got spare time. No. Life is what you do when you've got spare time. Torah is what you do all the time. That's what it means. Asay Torascha kavar. Now, there's other aspects of Torah. You know that everybody has lives to lead. Some people decide that they want to go, after they've finished their studies in yeshiva, they want to go and they want to become a lawyer, they want to become a doctor, they want to go into business, they want to involve themselves in some other aspect of human life, human existence, which is not the study of Torah. How are they going to make their Torah kavah? So this is something else that Shammai is implying. Did you devote some time to Torah today? Or are you waiting for when it's convenient for you to do it? Are you waiting for a few minutes, that you're going to have every third week if it happens to be that you don't have another meeting at the same time? No, says Shammai, that's not what it means to be a good Jew. If you want to be a good Jew, make sure Asay Torascha Kavah. Make sure that your Torah is permanent. Every single day that you find some time, a few minutes in the day. By the way, it'd be fantastic if you found a few hours in the day. But at least find some time every day on a permanent basis to devote to Torah study, to devote to your identity as a Jew, to devote to what it means to be a servant of God as part of Am Yisrael, as part of the chosen people. That's what it means to be a Jew, says Shammai. Asay Torascha Kavah. I'm just going to read from the Perush here. Shebeinim yilamed ma'at Torah. Yilmad ma'at Torah, ben she yilmad Torah harbe. Whether or not you're going to study a little bit of Torah or a lot of Torah, ha'ikar she'asena bikfiyas. The main thing is to do it on a regular basis. Permanence means it's something that you do regularly. Not that you do it 15 hours as a marathon once every 3 months. But you can do it 5 minutes every day. You could learn Daf Yomi every day. You could learn Mishnah, 1 Mishnah a day. You could find something that you do every day, which is Torah, which you introduce into your life, and which turns into your life into Asay Torascha Kavah. And something else, Shetzarich Adam, Lirois, Sheyagia lo eze pu'ula v'tachlis la'avodas habarei yisparach ma'alimud shelomad. It's not just that the Torah becomes permanent because you study it every day, but that you take on board that which the Torah teaches you, so that in and of itself it teaches you aspects of life that you're going to take upon yourself on a regular basis. Torah is not something that you'll learn because it's a theoretical piece of information. Oh, isn't it wonderful that the Torah says that you should do this or you should do that? No, no. Torah is something that you study and you think to yourself, oh, that's what the Torah said, I'm going to take it on board. It's going to be a part of my regular day-to-day life. That's who I am going to become. I have become the person who's taken on board the Torah that I have learned. That's what it means when it says, Asei Torascha Kava. It's going to be a regular and permanent feature of your life. V'yikva hadvarim belibai v'lo something. It shouldn't be something that is going to be mibachutz, something which is external, something which is beyond the regular day-to-day life that you are living. And the Avos de Reb Nosson, which you know is a parallel text to Pirkei Avot, Avos de Reb Nosson says, Rabbi Yehuda ben Eloi, he's one of the great Tanoim, Omer, he said as follows, Kol ha'oseh divrei Torah ikar, everybody who makes divrei Torah, something which is important in them, in their lives, the derech eretz tofel, and the regular aspects of their lives, something which is less important. That means the important aspect of my life is Torah. I am a Jew. Torah is at the center of my life. What about all the other things you do? I have to do them. I have to get through them. I have to make sure that I do them properly. But they're not the most important aspect of my life. Oisin oisai ikar ba'olam. Then he will become a major aspect of this world. In other words, that God will see how you treat the Torah as being something important, then you will yourself be treated as something that is important. And continues Shammai. Shammai says as follows, Emor ma'at va'aseh harbe. Emor ma'at, this is such an important one, isn't it? Have you ever heard this one before? Emor ma'at va'aseh harbe. Say little and do a lot. Well, first of all, on a most basic, superficial level, what does that mean? Don't be a big talker. Have you met big talkers before? They're constantly selling themselves or something to you, but when it comes to it, they don't quite match up to the expectations that one might have had as a result of everything that they said that they were going to be or going to do. Emor ma'at, says Shammai. Don't talk a lot. Don't be a big talker. Don't be a big salesman. Don't push yourself. Don't over-verbalize that which you are going to do. Emor ma'at. However, va'aseh harbe. Be a doer. Less of the talking and more of the doing. And actually, when you make commitments to people, one of the great pitfalls of human life is that we make great commitments to people. People ask us, what are you going to do? We say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be something else. And when it comes to it, we don't quite match up to all the promises that we've made about what we're going to do and what we're going to achieve. That's a mistake. That's not who you should be. What you should be is an emor ma'at. Don't make big commitments. Say, I'm going to try my best to do this, that, and the other. However, when it comes to it, aseh harbe. Do much more than that which you've said, and even much more than you ever thought that you could do. Be greater than the sum of your parts. Don't ever imagine that that which you say is the ultimate of what you're going to do. That which you say should only be the platform, the springboard to much greater achievements. You can be much more than the things you say. And when it comes to mitzvahs, the same thing. You should, at the very least, promise to do the mitzvahs that you need to do. But when it comes to doing mitzvahs, aseh harbe. Emor ma'at. Say, I'm going to try my best. I'm going to do my level best to achieve the objectives that I feel that are possible within the limitations of the life that I lead. But when it comes to it, aseh harbe. Push yourself not just to the limit, but beyond the limit. Make sure that you do much more. Shammai, Hillel, all the great rabbis of the Talmud, they are the epitomes. They really demonstrate this concept of Emoir Ma'at V'aseh Harbe. They managed to achieve much more. Look at all the incredible challenges that they had, living in a time when the Romans and all the external forces were pushing against them, and yet they managed to compose the Talmud and make sure that there was a foundation for Jewish life, not just for their own period in Jewish history, but well beyond it. Even today, we benefit from the fact that they were Emor Ma'at V'aseh Harbe, that they said little but did a lot. They were the examples, they were the mentors for Jewish life as we live it. And finally, V'heve Mekabel es kol ha'odam b'sever ponim yofos. Notwithstanding the achievements that you may have managed to achieve, notwithstanding who you may be as a person, every single person out there is worthy of your respect, and you should receive them with a smile and with positivity and with great respect and with love. You should virtually hug everybody you meet. Everybody you meet should feel the warmth and affection that you have for them. How important. Human relations. What is life as a human being without human relations? Don't ever imagine that you can sit on your high horse and look down on other people, said Shammai. And look who Shammai was, one of the greatest rabbis of his era, and in fact of all of Jewish history. And yet he says every single person must be received with great respect and with great love. And with that I will end today. I want to dedicate this shir, one of our regular listeners in the shiurim that we give on Zoom, and that we have on YouTube and on SoundCloud, Shawnee and Richard Fine. They listen to almost every shir, if not every single shir that we give here from Young Israel of North Beverly Hills, and it's in fact a great privilege for us to have them as our regular listeners. Sadly, they lost a son last week, and the Levaya was last Thursday, and I want to dedicate this shir in his memory. His name was Eliyahu Yehuda ben Gershon, Zichrona Livracha. His neshama should have an aliyah. We should be zeicha to see Tchias HaMesim. Jeffrey Lawrence Gilson, that was his English name. We should merit to see him back again when we have Tchias HaMesim. And in the meantime, we learn this Torah in his memory and in the schus of his memory, and as condolence to his family who have lost this wonderful family member. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you again next week when we will continue with Pirkei Avot.